Hello, welcome back to the Crisis Law Podcast with Alonzo and Jay DeVette. Let's read the Bible. Lord, thank you for giving us eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to understand the wisdom of your word. All right, you guys, we're back with part 107 from Genesis to Revelation, and we are going to be finishing out the book of Ecclesiastes. Last Saturday was another one of those weird episodes because my system was goofing around before we got started, but I just restarted the laptop before this one, make sure everything was up and running the way it should be, and it seems to be doing so right now. So let's get started in verse 1 of chapter 10, and it reads as, "Dead flies putrefy the perfumer's ointment and cause it to give off a foul odor, so does a little folly to one respected for wisdom and honor." Highlight that one. "A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left." We understand the metaphor between righteousness with the right hand and power and authority, and then the opposite is true for left-handedness. Verse 3 says, "Even when a fool walks along the way, he lacks wisdom, and he shows everyone that he is a fool. If the spirit of the ruler..." Wait, did I read that right? Yes. All right, verse 4. "If the spirit of the ruler rises against you, do not leave your post, for conciliation pacifies great offenses." Can you read 4 in the NLT?
If your boss is angry at you, don't quit. A quiet spirit can overcome even great mistakes.
Look at that. "There is an evil I have seen under the sun, as an error proceeding from the ruler. Folly is set in his great dignity, while the rich sit in a lowly place." Wait, no, I read that wrong. "Folly is set in great dignity, while the rich sit in a lowly place." Can you read 5 and 6 in NLT?
There is another evil
Thank you guys for joining.
I have seen under the sun. Kings and rulers make a grave mistake when they give a great authority to foolish people and low positions to the people of proven worth. I have even seen servants riding horseback riding horseback like princes, and princes walking like servants.
That's really interesting. Putting people in the wrong positions. That's happened. Still happens. Verse 8 says, "He who digs a pit will fall into it." Hold on. Let me add this one as well. It's a practical life decisions. Bear with me. I have to screenshot something. But I'll just screenshot it. I won't keep you guys waiting for too long. Oh, you can just go ahead and keep reading while I do this, actually, Jade.
Okay. Verse 8. When you dig a well, you might fall in. When you dig a well... when you dig a well, you might fall in. When you demolish an old wall, you could be bitten by a snake. When you work in a quarry, stones might fall and crush you. When you chop wood, there is danger with each stroke of your axe. Using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. That's kind of like what Pastor Ted was talking about yesterday.
Talk about it, yeah.
How he was saying that if you're not if he was talking about iron sharpens iron, and how if you hang around people that aren't equally yoked, you will become like them pretty much. You become the company you keep. And he was talking about when you're finally being ready to be used by God, or used in any kind of situation, whatever, your blade is dull, so it's gonna take extra strength to do what you need to do. And then this says, using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. I don't know. I guess the dull thing just kind of made me think that.
Yeah, you're right. It's exactly
Keep
like you
things
said.
sharp.
It reminds me of when Paul says to stir up the gift or fan into flames the gift. Well, then like you cook, so you know all about stirring. You stir something up so it doesn't burn up in the pot and then become useless. You keep it prepared for use with stirring. And it's like what you're talking about and what Pastor Ted was talking about when you're using something to sharpen an axe, or that is not supposed to sharpen the axe, and then the axe becomes dull. Now it's no longer fit for use. And so what it should be succeeding in, it's at folly. And a lot of people, and like you mentioned, just having the wrong type of person in your life makes someone who should be sharp dull. As the Bible reiterates over and over, that when you keep company with a fool, well, you might have counted one, but there's two of you. Verse 11, is that where you left off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me go to verse 12 then. I remember you saying about the serpent. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool shall swallow him up. You were just talking about that. The words of his mouth you have something to say?
No, you're supposed to start at 11.
At 11? I thought you read something about a serpent falling through a wall. A serpent may bite when it is not charmed. The babbler is no different. Oh, look at that. The babbler is the biblical term for yapping. And, the Bible also says where there's a multitude of words, there lacks no sin. A serpent may bite even when it's not charmed. The babbler is no different. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool shall swallow him up. The words of his mouth begin with foolishness, and the end of his talk is raving madness. Just look at any video of a liberal person giving us their political views. A fool also multiplies words. No man knows what is to be. Who can tell him what will be after him? Can you give me 14 NLT?
They chatter on and on. No one really knows what is going to happen. No one can predict the future.
But they keep talking. Yapping, okay. Ecclesiastes 10, all about yapping. Verse 15, the labor of fools weary them, for they do not even know how to go into the city. Wow. Woe to you, O land, when your king is a child and your princes feast in the morning. Is there any more context in the NLT for verse 16?
What sorrow for the land ruled by a servant, the land whose leaders feast in the morning.
They call a child a servant?
What sorrow for the land ruled by a servant.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it the writer of Hebrews? It's either that person or Paul. They teach about how until a child grows up and is proven wise, they differ not, or they're no different from a servant in the house. And it's like, well, yes, sure, by birth, this child's supposed to have an inheritance. They will have an inheritance. But as long as they're a child, they're just as a servant, because they don't have any, what's the word? They don't have the wisdom and understanding to rule what it is to be given to them. Like, God has the same concept where he has the parable Jesus teaches where the person who's faithful with little becomes ruler over much. You can't make a child a ruler until they're proven faithful with little, but you can't be proven faithful with little until you have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And those things ought to come with time. So naturally, as foolishness is in a child's heart, well, children don't get anything. They don't make their own decisions. So they're no different from a servant who you tell them what to do and how they do it. And, that also would reinforce that, the thing that Pastor Ted talks about. And Pastor Alex had a reel that went viral about that as well, about children don't get to decide what they want to do. My kids can't tell me what they want to be, yeah, essentially. But the context behind that is we listen to what does God want you to be? God who made you, God who gave you to me. As a parent, it's my job to hear from the Lord for you and put you where God, basically in position to become what God wants you to be. And if something that child wants to do might get them out of position of that, like if my child's supposed to be a preacher and they're telling me, Dad, I want to be an astronaut. Well, I'm like, whoa, slow down. We heard from the Lord that you're supposed to preach. Like, who are you going to preach to in space? The aliens? Okay. Nevertheless, I like it's interesting. So the word for child in the Greek must be similar to the word for servant. I'm not going to look into that, though. Woe to you, O land, when your king is a child again, and your princes feast in the morning. And obviously, when we're talking about feasting in the morning, anybody that has a job, when you take that little break and it's your lunch break or you snack on something, Jade works at a southern restaurant. She eats that biscuit or
you know,
two?
I didn't have one today.
You didn't have one?
I had a corn muffin instead.
Okay, but what happened? What did you feel like doing after you ate that corn muffin?
I actually feel energized because I didn't eat anything today.
Okay.
I had it with chicken though.
Well, my wife's not a good example of this, but
yeah, sorry.
Production goes down. That's what Pastor Ted says.
When you eat a big meal,
it's statistically proven that production. So yeah, because it says feast.
Yeah.
So production goes down, but it's like in the morning is when it. You know, if you want to talk about seasons, in the mornings where you wake up and you start charging yourself up to go in labor. But you go and you feast and you basically you weigh yourself down and then you get the itis. And what should have been the launching pad for the day, which is what you do in the morning, ends up launching you all the way back into I want to go to bed. But you're a king, you're a ruler, you got stuff that you need to tend to. And then, you know, this is why they tried to roast Jesus. It was like, oh, look at him. He's a wine bibber. He eats all day and he hangs out with sinners. But he's supposed to be this great guy. Anyway. Verse 17 says, blessed are you, O land, when your king is the son of nobles and your princes feast at the proper time for strength and not for drunkenness. Let me read this last part again. For strength and not for drunkenness. Because of laziness, the building decays, and through idleness of hands, the house leaks. You know, like that mystery where like you leave a house alone or a property alone and it just deteriorates. It's crazy. Trees start growing in it because like people aren't in there. It's really weird. I used to have that job where I drove all around Georgia, and I remember on one, I forget what you call it, but on one of my escapades, I went through like one of these back roads, and one of the utility pole that I had to go and check out was like right in front of this abandoned house, and there's a tree in the middle of the house. That's where I lost my pocket knife, down in Columbus. You know, when I went on that job, I had no idea I was that close to the River Church Columbus. I didn't know that church existed. And then when I started going there, I was like, what? This is the same road I drove past to do my job in Columbus. And the church is like 10 minutes.
You didn't drive that far.
I drove all around. I went to Valdosta one day and came right back.
They pay for your gas?
They reimburse you. But technically, they would have paid for my gas if I ever got the opportunity to drive one of the work trucks. But they were always taken. Mm-hmm. So I never got a work truck. I did put miles on my aunt's car, though. May her soul rest in peace. Anyway, verse 20, I believe. Or no, 18. A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money answers everything, naturally speaking. Do not curse the king, even in your thought. Do not curse the rich, even in your bedroom, for a bird of the air may carry your voice, and a bird in flight may tell the matter.
That's where they get a little birdie told me something. That's where they get that phrase from.
A little birdie told me. That's what a talebearer is. But obviously, right? Like, just don't even say it. Keep it to yourself. Hold your peace. All right, chapter 11, verse 1. One of our favorite verses. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil will be on the earth. Can you read those in NLT, please?
Send your grain across the seas, and in time, profits will profits will flow back to you.
They'll flaw back to you.
Yeah. But divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. That's like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Put them in multiple.
Right. And then, like the concept of even investing.
Yeah.
You know, people don't. I was meditating on this the other day, and it came to me better than what I'm about to say right now. But the Bible does not reinforce this idea that storing up money in like a safe, like let's try to keep it in the lens of like, let's say like I get paid and I stuff it in the mattress. Well, currency like depreciates. And so you're not sustaining yourself if all you're doing with your money is storing it someplace safe. We learned that from the parable of the servants with the talents, because the one who was afraid decided that, okay, I'll be all right if I bury this and put it in the ground. And he thought that would sustain his position or his job or whatever. And the master comes back and he says, that was wicked. You should have at least put it somewhere where it could accrue interest instead of sustaining it or saving it the way that he did. So I'm not saying it's wrong to put away money. Like, no, we put away money. We put away some money so I can take my wife shopping tomorrow, which we're going to do, by the way, when you get back. But, if money depreciates, as time goes on, your buying power lowers. But what system has God given us to make sure that our wealth gets sustained? If it seems contradictory to not save it, to sustain it, because saving doesn't sustain. Storing it and not using it is not what sustains your money. Money is a currency. Currencies are meant to flow. And what we just learned here is that when you send it out upon the waters, it actually comes back after many days. And so though it seems contradictory, giving, tithing, giving offerings, sowing seed is actually what sustains your wealth. That's what sustains your giving, right? Like we just talked about a house where you're not using it, it just deteriorates. It's really weird, but that's what happens to it. Someone could just not live in the house and it'll just go and rot. There must be some spiritual principle behind that. But I'm going to liken that right now to, that's what happens when you just leave something alone. You leave your money alone. It technically is just rotting. We all know that the buying power of $20 back in the day is like $1 million.
Yeah, and then prices are going up.
Yeah. And so how do I get sustained is with the inflation, I believe God to get inflated, as Pastor Jonathan preaches it. You need the blessing on your life, and not just the blessing on your life. I'll say it this way. You don't need just the blessing on your life. You need the blessing flowing. There we go. Don't just have the blessing, flow in the blessing. That's the best way to put it. Don't just have the money, let the money flow. You're supposed to use it. And what happens when you use it is that it bears fruit in your life. How do I use my money so that I can sustain myself, sustain my wealth, and bear fruit? Is I sow it, I give it. We give it to church. I mean, you guys, we walk into a house in Florida every day now. If you guys stuck with us since we even began from Genesis to Revelation, this started in a studio in an apartment complex in Georgia. 1 year from then, now we're in our own house, in our own room that we put together. Where did the money come for that? It came from our sowing and consistency, but that's faithfulness. So it's all glory to God. But like even in the little minute things like this, like all the equipment I have around me, like where did I get the money for that? It kept coming to me for sowing. So it's not like, keep this in mind. Let's say I already had the money to buy all this stuff and I bought all this stuff, but I did no giving. I did no sowing. Right? So even though I started with the money to get this stuff and I got this stuff, well, where's the money to sustain it? What if something breaks? But I don't have my currency flowing. So my money's, I'm just saving it, right? But it's not gaining interest. It's not, I forget the word for it, but it's not stacking up. I'm not counting anything up. I used it and that's it. But because we live by this seed time and harvest principle where we give and the harvest comes back from what we give, even though we spend our money, and my wife has to catch this revelation every week. Even though we spend our money, you look at our bank account the next week and what happens?
It's right back.
It's right back. Pressed down, shaken together, running over. And so that's even that I learned something there that God didn't lie. Did he lie? No. You think to yourself, man, if I like this number going up. Pastor Carolyn, I'm taking her revelation. She said you can't fall in love with seeing that number go up. Because if you do that, you won't take away from it and sow and give. And then at that point, your money starts to depreciate. But when you don't fall in love with it, when you're okay with giving, you can even go and spend your money. But when you're a giver, when you're a tither, the money keeps coming back. So I don't get a set amount and then I have to live off of that. No, it keeps coming back. I mean, there's been times where we've almost spent all of our money. We've almost given it. We spent money and we went out to eat. We sold, we paid off somebody's this, we paid off somebody's that. And it's like, dang, I don't like this number in the bank. And then literally the next week, the Lord blesses us. He brings finances back into our house and now we don't have to go without. So I can talk about that, but let's keep going. We got to finish Ecclesiastes. But it's God's principle. What is the phrase? If you keep the word will keep you. That's the phrase. It's God's word. If you abide by that, God's word will keep you. And we've seen it, and we are seeing it. Verse 3. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or the north in the wow, clouds are a great example of that entire concept. Clouds store up and they heap up, but do they keep it? No, they don't keep the rain. They rain down. But then what happens?
Overflowing.
Yeah, then that rain tends to overflowing. But then what happens? Do the clouds never come back after that? No. The clouds reform. They build back up.
And then it's like the rain comes out,
Uh-huh.
and those are like the seeds because the rain makes the plants grow.
Yeah.
So when it releases the water,
Mm-hmm.
it makes things grow.
Yeah, you're right. And
It
so
gives life to things.
it gives life to things. It's like when you spend your money, you gotta let it flow so it can give life to all these other areas in your life. Right? Pastor Ted talked about this out of 2 Corinthians 8. The like verses 10 and 11, it talks about how, and then when you give, he who sows abundantly will reap abundantly. I'll just read that one, or I'll just quote that part. You know the other part. But then it also says, but then your fruit of righteousness will abound in every area of your life. You'll be blessed in every. I guess we'll turn there really quickly. I'm not quoting it very well. But if you think of your giving like a cloud giving rain, you'll understand what we're talking about here. Second Corinthians chapter, is it chapter 8 or chapter 9? Let me make sure. It's chapter 9. Verse 10 says, for God is the one who provides seed for the farmer and then bread to eat. In the same way, he will provide an increase for your resources. He will provide for and increase your resources and then produce a great harvest of generosity in you. Verse 11, yes, you will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. And when we take your gifts to those who need them, they will thank the Lord for your giving. So check that out. Verse 11 is powerful. A cloud is very symbolic of verse 11. You will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. So what happens? Me being generous causes for me to be enriched so I can keep being generous. So when a cloud pours out, yes, they get smaller. They let the rain go. The rain falls and it falls generously, especially here in Florida. And then what happens? Well, that whole precipitation, evaporation, condensation, whatever, that process starts all over again. And then clouds can be generous again. That's the same way for you and your money. You let it go out and you use it to be generous to others. And God has this principle like a cloud that gives its rain. It reforms, it reshapes again. So when you give out your money, you make it rain on somebody, not in a strip club. But you give out your money, what happens? God blesses you and enriches you so that you can do it again. So though we're spending, we're also giving. Though we're giving, and yes, we're also spending, God's enriching us in every way. In the same way, our generosity causes other things to be generous. Generously grow, figuratively speaking. But there's this principle that it comes back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. But if you just keep it to yourself, you just deteriorate. And then you don't bless anything. I think a cloud that doesn't rain, it just only thing it does is evaporate. It just becomes steam. It lives a life that doesn't touch anybody, and it's forgettable. And then it's one of those clouds that's in the sky where it's like, oh, that one's just like a streak of white across the air. Forgettable. But those, the big, what is it, cumulonimbus clouds? Am I making sense? I don't want to beat a dead horse. I feel like we all get it here. I need to put that in my notes. Can you keep reading?
We have to go back.
Yeah, my bad. Just start at verse 3.
Okay. When clouds are heavy, the rain comes down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Why does it say that though? It stays where it falls.
You don't like the bars that they just gave you there?
Well, what does it mean by that?
Let me read it. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or the north in the place Where the tree falls, there it shall lie. And so it's that same concept, like sinners are going to sin. Clouds do what they do. When they're full, they rain. When trees fall, they stay where they are.
Okay.
So let me see if there's any more context. Does it put it next to any verses in the Bible like that? It's not really defining any stanzas here either. But I will say it's just natural. And if I want to liken to something, he's like, it should be natural for you to cast your breads upon the water because you're going to find it. It's going to come back to you. It should be natural for you to invest in things because this happens upon the earth. In the same way, it's natural for clouds that are full to rain and for trees that fall to stay where they lie. That's how natural giving and sowing and investing should be. But let's keep reading down. If it's related to verses 1 and 2, that's how I would liken them to it. But it could be related to verses 5 and 6. So as you do not know what is the way of the wind, or how the bones grow in the womb, or her who is with child, so you do not know the works of God who makes everything. So look, it's like this happens. We don't know why, or especially back then. We know why now because of science. But it was this work of God that they couldn't understand, but they knew it happens. So I don't know why your money comes back when you invest it, but it does. In the same way, a cloud just rains when it's full. God made it to happen that way. So that's essentially that's what he's saying. God just made it to happen. That don't make any sense. Well, God made it to work like that. So benefit from it instead of saying it's stupid. Take that risk. Can you keep reading?
Advice for young and old. Light is sweet, how pleasant to see a new day dawning.
Oh.
When people live to be very old, let them rejoice in every day of life.
What verse are you on? Out of chapter 11. Oh, okay. It's just NOT doing NOT things.
Yeah. Let them rejoice in every day of life, but let them also remember there will be many dark days. Everything still to come is meaningless. Young people, it's wonderful to be young. Enjoy every minute of it. Do everything you want to do. Take it all in. But remember that you must give an account to God for everything you do. So refuse to worry and keep your body healthy. But remember
the Bible says that?
Yeah.
What verse was that?
10.
Wow. Remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh. So drugs are a sin. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, you can finish.
But remember that youth with a whole life... But remember that youth with a whole life before you is meaningless.
I think it was 11:3. Let me go back up and look at this verse. Then I'll read it. I'll read what you just read. Yeah. Let's do 1 through 5. It's a crazy revelation. Rejoice, O young men, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes, but know that for all these God will bring you into judgment. Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. I mean, that's true. Like, as in vanity, it's like you're not going to have childhood and youth forever. So that's what makes it vain. Anything that's vain to him is something that's not eternal. So when you keep it in that context, rather than saying, oh, he's so depressed, what he's realizing is that everything natural is vanity because everything natural perishes. Everything natural comes to an end. So he's saying enjoy it, but remember, if you do wickedness, so put away wickedness from your flesh, put away evil from your flesh, follow your heart, sure, but make sure when you're following your heart, put away the evil from your flesh because God's going to judge you for every work. So enjoy your youth, sure, because it's all vanity. It's not eternal. So make the most of it while you have it. And while you're making the most of it, remember God will judge you for your works. and just go ahead and remove sorrow and evil from yourself, so that your works aren't just works of unrighteousness. Last chapter. Chapter 12, verse 1 says, remember now your Creator in the days of your youth. So we read this in context with the last couple of verses. We know he's not saying just go and have sex and date whoever you want and flirt and go to the club. It's not what he's saying. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come and the years draw near, when you say, I have no pleasure in them, because you have to go get a job. While the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened, and the clouds do not return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men bow down, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look through the windows grow dim, when the doors are shut in the streets, and the sound of grinding is low, when one rises up at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of music are brought low. Also they are afraid of height and of terrors in the way. When the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper is a burden, and desire fails. For a man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. Remember your Creator before the silver cord is loosed, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. When the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. All is vanity. Can you read 1 through 8? You don't have to worry about reading it the way I did. I was actually impressed that I even didn't mess up that way, in case you were wondering.
Okay. Don't let the excitement of youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor him in your youth before you grow old and say, life is not pleasant anymore. Remember him before the light of the sun, moon, and stars is dim to your old eyes, and rain clouds continually darken your sky. Remember him before your legs, the guards of your house, start to tremble, and before your shoulders, the strong men stoop. Remember him before your teeth, your few remaining servants, stop grinding. What?
That's talking about teeth?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What does he even mean by that? Your few remaining servants, stop grinding.
Your teeth. You have to use dentures.
Oh, you're calling your servant, your teeth.
Yeah, so the NLT translated this, that verses 1 through 8 have a context of remembering God in your youth before you grow old and have to experience these things.
Oh, before your shoulders go like this.
Exactly. You get all hunched over. He's saying it's best in your youth. So, you know, when Jesus even teaches, like, don't keep the kids from me. Have you not read Ecclesiastes? Well, he didn't say, have you not read Ecclesiastes? But, look, have you guys not read Ecclesiastes? Solomon says, at the day of the youth, or in the day of the youth is when people should remember the Lord. So in the day of your youth, you should come to God. And then it's actually a cheat code. Letting the Lord keep you from the days of your youth, that's like a great track record to have. That's like, you don't have to have that testimony where like, oh, I went and did this with my own decisions and then I messed up my life. Imagine what God could do with you if you were to come to him at 5 years old. Or what did Pastor Ted say? He got saved at 5, right? That's what he said?
I don't know.
Somewhere around there. He keeps making that joke where he's like, yeah, I lived a long life of
kids.
drugs and but then I gave my life to God at 5 years old. And then he said that the other
little
Sunday.
kids be talking to each other like about real stuff too.
Really?
Like when your kids say, yeah, like if you have a saved kid, like he's
the
like
last time I
5
talked
or
to a
6.
kid, they were talking about Baja Blast.
But like with each other, I feel like sometimes, I don't know, kids are so like straight up that they'll just tell you what it is. You never know what.
I know. I'm just acting like I don't know.
Well, yeah, they also do talk about candy and sugar and stuff.
But no, I would say the number one reason for that is because if you consider the opposite, does the devil wait before he starts afflicting children? No, he's been trying to kill kids in the womb since the day of Moses. So why should we? Oh, they don't know about. All right, no. If anything, as a parent, the first thing you should do is dedicate your child to God and make sure they grow up in a spirit-filled church with a outreach ministry and an exciting youth program.
Okay.
Like Miracle Word Church.
The next one, yes. The woman looking through the windows see dimly. Oh, sorry. So after I said, remember him before your teeth, your few remaining servants stop grinding, and before your eyes, the woman looking through the windows see dimly. Remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed and the sound of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirping of the birds, but then all their sounds will grow faint. Remember him before you become fearful of falling and worry about danger in the streets, before your hair turns white like an almond tree in bloom, and you drag along without energy like a dying grasshopper, and the caperberry no longer inspires sexual desire. What?
Yeah, where did they pull that from?
They be taking berries?
I don't know.
What? You gotta search that up. Not like, I'm just curious.
Whoa,
like,
you gotta watch out.
Not
What are you
like
talking
that.
about?
I'm just
Come
curious.
on.
Like,
Not
what?
on the broadcast.
What's a caperberry? Remember him before you near the grave, your everlasting home, when the mourners will weep at your funeral. Yes, remember your Creator now while you are young, before the silver cord of life snaps and the golden bowl is broken. Don't wait until the water jar is smashed at the spring and the pulley is broken at the well, for then the dust will return to the earth and the spirit will return to God who gave it.
Verse 8?
Oh, I was looking at a whole other section. I thought it was done. Concluding thoughts about the teacher. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher. Completely meaningless.
And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yes, he pondered and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find acceptable words, and what was written was upright, words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and the words of scholars are like well-driven nails given by one shepherd. And further, my son, be admonished by these, of making many books there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. So, Solomon's conclusion to life. Fear God and keep his commandments. That's what he ends the book of Ecclesiastes with. So when people are talking about, oh, he's just so depressing, they're not joking. That's a very elementary understanding of this whole book. He said, I so wise, he said he was, that he sought out foolishness and folly. And he went and did all of that, and he concluded this. There's no point to life than to fear God and keep his commandments. So what do you think he did after all of that? He turned back to fearing God and keeping his commandments. And then we will start... No, this Saturday we have an outreach to go to. Oh, well, we'll be back Monday with Song of Solomon. We're going to read through all of it. I think it's like 7 chapters. But I don't want to do multiple parts on this book at all. And, yeah. I mean, there's nothing else to say. See you guys Wednesday for a Bible study. God bless you. Fear God.